0.
Welcome back to the Next Round FM 100 Talkback Show. In the studio, joining me this morning from the from the Independent Consumer and Competition Commission, or ICCC, as we all know, Commissioner Palus Ains joins me in the studio, along with Executive Manager, Price Regulation Division, Mr. Thomas Bue, in the studio with us. Commissioner, Mr. Bue, good morning to you and welcome to the program.
Good morning, Mr. Tanda FM 100 for having us this morning. And good morning to Papua New Guineans who are listening in this morning as well.
Of course, Mr. Ains, for yourself, key thing is we talk about, especially when many times when people walk into the stores and they see the price of goods actually jump up and whatnot, they're saying, "My goodness, I can't believe that the price has gone up this much." So I say this because one particular point I keep making over my time, I think my listeners are getting bored of it, is I talk about, like 2 years ago, the price of a roots rice bag was like 38 kina. 38 kina. Now it's something like almost 50 kina, 52 kina.
54, 50.
Yeah, if you're lucky enough to get it around 50, you're very fortunate to get it around that much. That's gone up. And then we have, and here's a strange thing. We have the, oh my goodness, was it National Economic Fiscal Commission, or was it National Statistical Office? They put out a report on inflation saying it's only 4%. How did they come to that number? That's the thing that many Papua New Guineans people power back. What's going on? Because inflation seems to be more than 4%, more than 10%. I'll tell you that much. And all of a sudden, the organizations that are responsible for keeping tabs on inflation, they're telling us that no, it's only 4%. Mr. Ains, for Papua New Guineans like myself who are confused, is there something? Are we missing something here?
Good morning, listeners. Thank you once again, Mr. Tanda. This is a very interesting comment, and everyone else is having regarding the movements in the prices of goods and services in the country. Basically, the ICCC does not play any part in the management of the national statistics. Our role basically is to see the movement of prices. Then that's where inflation comes in, and we understand some of the reasons behind the movements of inflation. To determine the actual rate of inflation, that's purely for our sister government agencies, and one is National Statistics Office.
Thank you very much. For the benefit of our listeners, what are the common drivers of inflation when people walk into the supermarket to see, or even at the fuel pump? In this case, what are the common drivers behind inflation?
There are two things we need to understand. Inflation is different to the actual price. Inflation is the actual or speed of movement in the change of price. You clear?
Yep.
Okay, we talk vision past time. Inflation, senis long price block KK from first time only sense in price come long next time only changing. The rate in which it is changing is called inflation. Price through from 1 kina equal to 10 kina. The rate in which is speed change here, that's what we call inflation. So, for example, from 1 kina go to 10 kina, okay, change here, percentage by inflation. So from 10 kina now, by come down to 5 kina. The price is actually gone down, but the speed with which drop long in is the rate of inflation. Thomas, am I correct?
Absolutely.
So that distinction needs to be understood by. So there are more details to it. Thomas and I can talk about this.
Sure.
Get our people to really understand some of these things. But who decides that rate of inflation?
Oh yeah.
All one talk along National Statistics Office. So maybe look in this plan number movement here. So then we are saying this is moving because there are certain factors that are involved. And then it becomes their job to decide what is this rate? So, for example, the final outcome is now 4%.
True, true. And when you talk about like time you come back low, when we talk about the rate of inflation itself, I'm saying, are we looking at? I mean, I know it's not in your scope of duties in this case, but the rate of inflation. I mean, is it? Do we measure it by a year, or is it usually measured by like after a year, 2 years?
I can let Thomas to speak a little bit more
Thomas,
on this
please.
one. He's the pricing man, so
Yeah, that's
I
right.
can help him to.
Thank you for that. From a general understanding, is that we usually have data released from the National Statistics Office on a quarterly basis, and of course, say for every year. Now, if you look at inflation, the notion of time comes into play now. Time. So when time comes into play, you think about speed, fast, slow. Okay, and it's a kind of a little bit technical here. That's why most of our people don't really get it. Like if someone comes out to the media and said that, okay, well, look, inflation dropped from 5% to 3%, then doesn't mean that prices have dropped from 5% to 3%. What it means is that prices have increased at 5% at a very faster rate at 5%. Now it is increasing slowly at 3%. So the key word here is increasing. It is still increasing, but the pace that it is increased has slowed down. So if you look at it, what we are talking about is cost of living, not inflation. Inflation is a technical thing that, like if you look at it, like it is the rate of speed, how fast something moves. Okay, and what we are concerned about here is the cost of living, because when politicians say that, okay, well, look, inflation falls from 5% to 3%, and everyone says, we are still hard hit with the cost of living, because he didn't or she didn't say that the cost of living has fallen from 5% to 3%. No, what he or she was saying was that the rate of speed in prices have slowed down now. The key idea is that prices are still increasing, but not as fast as they were before. So the cost of living is still high.
Damn.
Thank
Thank you very much for that.
Economist way of explaining some of these difficult things.
True. I appreciate that. So, talking about cost of living and what many times when we see a government that actually tries to cushion that blow on the cost of living itself, I think many times it's not communicated properly. Like the time the government, but they did away with the Marvin Russell government did away with the, what was it? Was it the school fees? They said we're going to fund all of that, so it's to give households enough money to put that money elsewhere instead of putting it to school fees or whatnot. And then in Parliament, I think it was one member of Parliament raised the question and said, people are still suffering. And then, unfortunately, our treasurer, without thinking properly, in this case, and measuring out his answer, says, who's suffering? We're okay. And it caused an uproar, public outcry in this case. This is what I'm talking about when things are not communicated properly. And I really appreciate the explanation both of you giving us when you're talking about cost of living. I think it's really important. Now, with that being said, for many of our listeners out there who probably might still confuse the role of ICCC,
Yes.
in a nutshell, or even give a talk question, why don't walk through ICCC?
Okay, thank you. I'm planting confusion and stuff, including our good politicians.
Oh, okay.
They still think that ICCC as the answer to controlling the prices of goods and services in the country. Most of them, those who come from the old school, where Consumer Affairs Council, let me stop.
Yes.
Now, price control, let me stop the Department of Treasury. Actually, there were about 10 items, price control function, and strictly enforcing. Auction palm, rice, sugar, one blood, sugar stuff.
Yep.
Okay. 717 fish been come time,
Absolutely.
Now, bully beef, auction palm, and been stuff. No, only what products were only available at that time. So price control is like you managing a monopoly. Or not can take advantage of all people.
That's right.
So there were few monopoly goods available at that time. So price control at that time was very strict in making sure that these goods here are available throughout the country with a price control product. So time this Mercury government have been come inside late Mercury. I'm looking also plenty all competition and come up long all this. So time 777 stop time best have been coming. Best come in now all narba tin fish pull him line come inside the market and pull up all tin fish.
Absolutely.
Then people are looking all meat products work come here. So now all you looking them there's competition in the market. Or rice through I been stop time now. Or plenty or rice work come inside. So now it's in economics. It's all about allowing competition to decide the prices.
The optimum prices.
So time Mibla along this time now government me pull him out. This role amend him completely price regulation set. Let me replace him. And we give him no room long, the newly established ICCC long, claim this part long, controlling prices long something. So I'm deregulate the market completely. So time Mibla come lo this pandemic time na inflation globally and we saw him sign on some supply but going down because all money for demand long, go long garden long walk him or some plain rice or cooking oil law or when or something and people are looking this signal and come long, global trend long, or membership long. So then because we did not have the legal mandate to control the prices here. So we went back to our good minister and he said, rain come here. And Tanda Pairabia rain back come. You must ready. But nobody decided to listen to us. So we quickly went into using the National Pandemic Act. Now, people talk, can you declare this one, please, as some emergency? Because
yes,
prices
yes,
are going
that's
to
right.
skyrocket here now. People buy hard it. So give us that little bit of room or power, long control him or suppress him now. You will try to make him something because ICCC Act, the full from A to Z, has nothing to do with price control. Prices Regulations Act have been repealing and replacing it. They gave us this role called price monitoring. So time this pandemic hitting time, we were able to be on top to avoid price gouging.
Yep. True.
So maybe I sat him down office now. Maybe I go back along all districts, provinces. Now we've been arresting, we've been charging, but this was on the basis of National Pandemic Act, not ICCC. So to date, our role primarily given by the ICCC Act is to monitor. The only product that Mibla now price controlling under the legislation only allow him long in here, and we'll call him fuel products here. And then all kata state-owned monopolies. We were given telecommunications, we were given PNC power of electricity industry, we were given port services, we were given the third-party insurance from MBIL, we were given post PNC. That was legislated for price controlling by the ICCC at that time.
But every other consumer will know that.
Every other, all deregulated. So it's open to the market, competition. You only go in to control the price when there is a monopoly in the market. While there is competition, they thought that market will play out. But economic circumstances are different in various jurisdictions. Do you think about? We can't bring the Australia idea that it'll work for us. All these times they thought that it will work and it's now not working. So what we are doing now is we are trying to amend that piece of legislation, but the legislative process, amendment process, is tedious. It's taking 3 years now, and we're still talking, while our good people are still suffering. So we're trying to go back, but the business houses are already showing resistance. We got submissions here. Why do you want to go? We are competing with, Besta is competing with 777. We're competing with Diana Tuna. How are you going to make sure that we recover our cost? So in a meeting, a sandwich kind of a thing where whether we listen to the business houses, whether we listen to the consumers, or we listen to the politicians. There should need to be a balance where business must continue to go, consumers must be satisfied, the legislation and policy need to be followed. So in this juggle, in trying to facilitate the interest of everyone else in this one basket, it's taking us these 3 years. So coming back to my point about what ICCC does, its functions. After they deregulated, they established what we call competition enforcement division. So that competition division is now dealing with all these market issues. So that's another division that it created. The other is the one.
Oh, that's under ICCC.
ICCC. The other one that the bylaw it created is regulation of state-owned enterprises. We successfully had some of those SOEs on our radar: telecommunications, electricity, postal services, PNG ports, MVIL. Those early days, they were struggling. So the government's intention is to reform some of them. And through this reform process, they established Independent Public Business Corporation, IPBC. And they told IPBC, you are a shareholder and you sit down there and collect your dividends. ICCC, you are the regulator. You make sure that the SOEs are performing efficiently and set their prices. Today, what we have done, ICCC has been thrown out of the window. IPBC is now a different agency now.
Yep.
The SOEs, nobody's regulating it. The only one that we have left now, the success story all the time, they are declaring dividends and dividends all the time, PNG ports. That you work and people are making the backside stuff. There are penalties and incentives and rewards. We make sure that they comply. If they don't invest on the money that we allow them to invest, we claw back all the revenue for the subsequent year. Because of these arrangements, our visibility daily is there. Once we give him, say, for example, 100 million to a port in somewhere else, our officers are going down on the ground, making sure they tick off all the boxes that the money has been spent. These are things that we continuously do, but PNG ports and IPBC, they think that they are doing this actually. Tomorrow, pull out ICCC from there and you'll see how they run it.
We've seen what's happening in the others.
Seeing what's happening. PNG Power, it was near, I am as old as ICCC. I have seen this. PNG Power, they are near liquidation. After the reform, when ICCC came in, we brought the balance sheet to some clean state. As soon as 2013, a politician saw fit that I will put the fridge. That's a political decision they made. Now they clean the slate. They brought in a lot of IPPs who are very expensive.
Yeah, independent power producers.
And these IPPs, they are bleeding this organization to hell. They do not know exactly the business, no pricing, no nothing. They have taken all these things. I can talk and all night, but I know we are racing against time.
No. Well, we're good with time. I'm just you're bringing me back to the prior interviews that you'd conducted at your office at Garden City, if I remember correctly. That time I think I was with Click TV. This was back in back in 2017. 2017 or around that time. And the IPPs, the independent power producers, that was something that you were talking about. It always stuck in my mind, and it got me really interested in the energy sector. Now, you were asking for the formula, asking PNG Power, the board, or whoever it was that set up the pricing. How did you come up with this particular arrangement? What is the formula going to calculate the rate? Now, sure enough, it's sad to see that we've seen, something you talk about. When these things are not brought, when they're not being transparent with the calculation of the formula, it doesn't make sense. And we've seen the issue with the fiasco with Dirio.
The ICCC is not like a money-making organization.
Exactly.
His job is a small policeman. We have about 75 officers. But we make sure that those SOEs efficiently run as a business. So those IPPs they were trying to bring in, we were there making sure that the rates and the charges and they are applying is the least minimum cost compared to hydro cost. So we set up this already. So when they were trying to avoid us, we got them pushed back. Because we are not subject to direction, so nobody had decided. So they saw this one and said, okay, ICCC, we throw you away, we're going to do it ourselves. and they removed our powers.
Goodness.
So we are no longer the regulator of the industry.
Another one. Just last week I had with me in the studio, Gary Seddon, CEO of Air New Guinea, along with Kalialo, the chairman, and I queried him about, when you're trying to run a business and the need to increase your fares just to get by, not to be operating in the red, to get by. Unfortunately, when public opinion says, "Hey, the price is already too high," and your major shareholder is the government, they hands are tied. They can't bring it up. They can't raise the prices any higher, even if it means that obviously you see a decline in the service or quality or standards of service. In this case, it's an unfortunate thing when you have SOEs that unfortunately can't do much, especially when you have a board that's comprised of the government that tells you, "No, this is a price slab. No go under legal kind of thing." Just wanted your thoughts on that arrangement with New Guinea and the predicament they're facing, despite the fact that they're getting 11 new A220s for 5 billion kina.
That was the whole reason at that time late McCarray in his wisdom decided to put the board and management away and give that job to ICCC
Exactly.
independently, manage those pricing, manage those investments, giving them the certainty that you spend this amount of money over 5-10 years, you can recover, and we become the policeman in making sure that this recovery process is kicking in, this investment process is kicking in. Now, we are not able to do all these things.
Mr. Ain, one more thing, Commissioner, I just wanted to ask. As far as for us, we're a subsidiary of Telecom. For Telecom, how was your experience with Telecom when ICCC was with Telecom? I mean, overseeing Telecom.
Yeah, I mean, we did the same thing exactly. We have one document called regulatory contracts. That's standard across all SOEs. Now, we're currently managing the one with PNG Ports and MVIL. A regulatory contract is a document. It's more like a tariff order that the business agrees with the regulator, and we lock in the amount of investments they plan to spend. So we tie those investments into a tariff. Then we set out the prices for them. So over 5 years, 10 years, your investment will be like this, but annual tariff adjustments will be like this. But we give you this, for example, on telecommunications. We understand this is a technical nature, capital intensive. All these investments require money. So when we give this a lot of money, we tell them in our offices, go that way. Okay, this amount of money were to be spent on that particular item. Have you purchased it? If not, we claw back the tariff next year, come next year. So in fear of us clawing back the tariff, the money we give, and money Nibla give him all the time, Nibla look stuff. So time you paid this dividends, and this money you made it, and this money you're supposed to spend it. Why you did not spend it? Then we tied into some of the boards, directors, CEOs, salaries. Imagine this. So come 12 months, end of the year, when subsequent to another year, maybe like certain price now, we go back and check all the things that you have done. We call it mid-term review. ICCC does that. Once in a mid-term review, we look back all this money. At time you go check him, we come back now look him also money you not spend him. What has happened? Where did this money go to? So this was the police kind of a job that we've been providing to the SOEs.
Amazing.
But then let's not talk. Okay, telecom, Mibla House in telecommunications. These were only political decisions at that time, not on a commercial decision.
Yeah.
ICCC no kasi one money na go invest lo one up na come up him growing on Brook House Mibla stop lo garden city yet. Mibla stop lo Borgo building yet. This was done in the interest of this country and the assets of this country. So the balance sheet Mibla work him good now. But Mibla go out some loan yet.
Thank you. Mr. Wu, would you like to add on?
I think just for the benefit of our listeners, what the commissioner said that like we give them this much, we give them that much. Okay, just for the benefit of our listeners, it's not really actually like we giving them some money. No, it's we allowing them to earn some money. Okay, and that some money is built into their price. So
okay.
it's like
That's right.
So it's like when you pay someone, say when you pay pay a water for like something per kilowatt hour per kiloliter. Okay, then that cost of future investment, future or say planned investment, like what is expected the expected return or by means of profit. So all those things are built into the price. Okay, and then like when a customer pays at that price, like he or she is indirectly paying off that expected profit, that expected say planned investment. And in the event that the entity did not materialize those investments, then the consumer is just paying for nothing.
That's right. That's
So
right.
like what my commissioner is saying is that we usually claw back now. It's like we don't want to go back and take money from them, but what we do, we reduce their prices in the next regulatory period. So it's just for
that affects budgets.
Yeah. So like my commissioner will be using technical words here.
Yes,
so
yes.
Like I'm trying to break it down for the benefits of our people.
No, wonderful. I appreciate that. We'll take a break at this junction on the Nas Fund FM 100 Talkback. So I mean, it's just I'm just trying to gauge the role that ICCC plays for the benefit of our listeners. At least you must understand one and walk will get long. Plenty time you mean looking price one type of price so start one again all the time. First name comes to mind, the ICCC. You need to understand him why I mean the role of looking and why you see on the shelves of the supermarket or what you're paying at the fuel pump or what you're paying, spending on your electricity bill, water bills, all of that, there's a reason behind it. And I was just trying to clarify the role of ICCC in this case. But we still, yes, coming up next, we're going to be talking about the indicative retail fuel price for February 2025. Yes, that's right. We are looking at an average increase in average throughout Papua New Guinea. That's coming up next on the Nas Fund FM 100 Talkback Show. You can send your questions through to 771-46340.
Nas Fund FM 100.
Welcome back to the That's One FM 100 Talkback Show. You can send your WhatsApp messages to 77146340. My goodness, I got sidetracked there. Meeting him number again. Won't say which number. On the That's One FM 100 Talkback Show, my special guest in the studio, Palus Ains, Commissioner and CEO of the Independent Consumer and Competition Commission. I think it's Commissioner. And also with him as well, Executive Manager, Price Regulation Division, Thomas Way, in the studio with us. Moving on to our topic for this morning. And firstly, just wanted to ask one more question before we touch on the fuel price. When you talk about ICCC's role in looking at price regulation, so ensure that there's no price gouging as well. I also wanted, like, this is, I don't know if this is true, but some rumor or some statement that was made that I stumbled upon, particularly with companies that are importing a particular product for that matter. So, and the thing is that they all seem to be importing from one particular country the same product. So I'm alluding to rice for that matter, for rice. Now, what happens when 3 or 4 of those, or should I say 5 or 6 of those 3 or 4 major importers of this particular rice type, different rice that are being brought in, and being brought in at a very cheap rate, in other words. Good quality rice being brought in at a cheap rate, but they look at, say for instance, see the retail price that what Trukai is offering, and even though they can drop it at half the price of Trukai, I'll just look at Trukai and say, let's just bring it up. In this case, despite the fact that everything else is covered, they can make a decent profit if they're selling it for half the price in itself. What is that practice called, and can ICCC step in the event? Because the consumers, at the end of the day, if you want to offer a decent product that's there, and I'm just using rice as one example, could be others as well. But as far as consumable goes, if this is a case where more of one particular business decides to collude and be selling at a particular price, does ICCC have jurisdiction to actually to intervene in this area for the benefit of the consumers?
There's multiple things. Okay. One could be a collusion area where our competition team can look at it. The other thing is consumers being loyal to one particular product. Consumer loyalty. Yeah.
Yes.
So the other products that are coming into the market, they are seeing your loyalty. You still want to eat Trukai. So when they are bringing into the market, they are not willing to eat this other rice here. It takes time. So okay, to cover the cost, people have been stop on them Trukai. So all come down, look, the margin is there, they are making it. Even some of them are selling below, nobody is willing to buy it. So this is called price leader. Leader. But you like him or not, Mr. You stop it. So taste blow rice now, let's plus something all man less long narbla. So the details about where rice is coming and what they do, Thomas knows better. So today, and we've been saying all these things. Try tasting all narbla rice. Now you will force Trugai low drop here. Time Trugai drop na come down low next available price here. Then this guy think them like stop now, and but drop me see. And but drop me go down. As Trugai drops, everybody will drop down backwards. But you can get plenty Trugai stop on top. All I never come on top is in a stop up. Because they have to make that difference here, no meet them cost blown.
Yes.
So go away from Trukai, go to another rice product, see how Trukai will behave and survive in the market. They'll definitely drop the price now. Everybody down there will be forced to go down. Then we will see the rice dropping. But technically our rice is grown and our also more karimikam, why prices are playing out like this. Thomas, maybe I'll leave Thomas to say something on this.
Mr. Bue?
Thank you for the opportunity. What the ICCC is doing at the moment is we are only monitoring Trukai rice, but from all the competitors. Why? Because of what the commissioner mentioned earlier on. Because Trukai is a price leader. So like whenever Trukai raises its price, like they will just follow. So we were looking at, we were tracking rice prices internationally, and we noted that the medium grain has dropped, but the long grain continued to increase all of last year. But the very recent data for last month, it indicates that it is also going down. So
Long grain.
yes.
Wow.
So while that's what's happening outside here in the our domestic economy, we might not be able to feel that effect very quickly because of lags and delays. That the prices that we see today, okay, we might say we might receive it within the next quarter or so, because of the time that it takes for shipments to come to Papua New Guinea. That's one, and the other, like we have things like foreign exchange effects on overseas prices that are denominated in US dollars.
That's right.
Yes, as well as there's some other in-country, say, structural constraints that they are always present. So there's a lot to do. Look into like infrastructure costs, security costs. Like these things are like they're ever present. They are what defines our character. So like in the long run, there are plans. Like we have already identified some options that we think would work out in the long term, which we have proposed to the government to uh, to to make some changes through a legislative amendment, and to give us more power to look into those factors. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And on another note, these days when you walk into any shop as well, you hardly find a packet of Rigo rice. Always selling out fast. Good morning to Jeffrey Kennedy and the team at the Rigo Rice Farm just next to the Campbell River. As such, again, all the way in Rigo, Central Province. On the That's One FM 100 Talkback Show as we move on. Now, coming to the indicative, coming to our main topic of discussion, my apologies, it's taken almost over an hour to get to that, close to an hour. ICCC has announced the new retail fuel prices for this month will be taking effect on Saturday, the 8th of February. I think that was already done already in this case. And we, from what the press statement that you released, basically talking about the prices for petrol, diesel, kerosene will all be increasing on average throughout Papua New Guinea. Now, if you could, what is the reason behind this increase? Is it going to be massive or is it going to be gradual?
Thank you, Mr. Tanda. And again, the technical details, the factors involved, why this is happening, I'll leave it to Thomas to talk about it. But on an overall policy matters, as we all are aware, fuel pricing that we currently have is it's factored against Singapore pricing arrangement. It's done in such a way that price below Papua New Guinea and price below Singapore. So we are more like a price takers at the moment. Whilst we have other internal sources that we can supply our own markets, we still have to follow that pricing formula that has already been locked into by our government some 20 plus years ago. So it's going to come probably after 3 more years remaining, Thomas? 2032. It'll expire. So what the ICCC does at the moment, under the Prices Regulations Act, we've given this power to price control certain items and then price monitor others. So it's a mixture of things. There are some various factors that are involved in trying to come out with the final pricing. So Thomas will comment on this one. But we've done over the last, every 5 years, there's a cycle that we call a review cycle on the pricing arrangement.
Yes.
So there was one that expired last year. Previous year? Last year. So throughout this review, the previous regulatory arrangement that we had for the pricing for the petroleum product suppliers, we had our good retail margins. We've been squeezing all the retailers. They could not get enough returns. for the investments they have in the retail services, and much of the returns benefits has gone to our wholesalers. So we've now decided to commence this process with a view to assist both wholesalers and retailers. And the final outcome has led us to both wholesalers and retailers will be benefiting. One that we've covered on the wholesale is, they always come around and said because of foreign exchange impacts,
Yep.
we're losing as a result of these changes.
That's right.
Then we have to bear or the outbound or inbound overseas inflation. So we've factored all this and given that benefit to all the wholesalers. So they shouldn't be coming out and complaining. For the retailers, we've allowed them to recover some of the costs that they've invested. So the factors, the new regulatory or fuel pricing arrangement takes into account all the factors involved. But at the end of the day, we all rely on crude oil from overseas. We do not have a crude oil factory here that we supply our market. So major component that dictates fuel price is crude oil and the exchange rate impacts, because everybody is importing petroleum products from overseas. So the factors involved and the new, your comments about the price changes for the month of February, I'll leave it to Thomas to take us on. Thank you.
Sorry, Mr. Wu.
Okay, thank you for that. Okay, well, for the month of February, we have seen the pump prices for petrol, diesel, and kerosene all increased across the country on average due to international factors, particularly the prices for crude oil, which feeds into the prices for refined petroleum products out of Singapore. Now, we have noted that prices were higher because of supply disruptions from the OPEC, and as well as there were fresh sanctions on Russia by the United States.
That's right.
So that feeds into the tanker rates for delivering fuel, and like these things happening outside, and you might be saying that it doesn't concern us and why we are paying their prices, but if you look at it, our domestic pump prices are based, say more than 60% of it is reflected by overseas prices. So like if you look at it, the import parity price makes up about 60% plus of the domestic pump prices. So like in a way that you see that
Wow.
a greater portion of your domestic pump prices is international prices. So when like something happens outside, like it doesn't concern you, but you would still have to pay the price.
That's right.
Yeah, because like what our commissioner said, there's this project agreement
Yes.
that was agreed to some years back. So the project agreement, like I think from an economic perspective, it reflects what a competitive price would be like. So like even if you remove the project agreement, we would still pay something close to international prices. And even if you were to control prices below international prices, no one would be willing to sell fuel in this country. They would all export because they're chasing good prices.
That's right.
Yeah.
Move for the better market.
Yeah. So that's one of the reasons why the government back then chose to go by the project agreement. Thank you.
Oh, we'll take a time call quickly.
Claim Sugar Time Call. It's 11 a.m.
Welcome back to the once again on the Nesfund FM 100 Talk Show. No, welcome back, but just from that 11 a.m. Talk Savet Sol, take a look at some of your messages coming in. Oh, goodness me. From Ivan, one of our regulars. Ivan from Gordon's. Ivan, good to have you back on. I've been saying, pardon me, Callaghan, we need the governor of Bank of Papua New Guinea, the treasurer and finance secretary or minister, and the prime minister to tell us what they're doing about inflation. Those are the people. But we all know it's not going to happen. So in the meantime, cut down on the quantity of food we eat. It's a chance to lose weight and wait for 2027. Does it make sense? Ivan. Your sarcasm as always. Appreciated this morning on the Next One FM 100 Talkback Show. Also from Danny from Wagani saying, give ICCC back their powers. Danny, true to us. This one says, good morning, CT. Soim Magakia in lay me like Soim Salatini Tasol, Soim Tini Tasol, people will complain, low price, low goods, and service will go on top. Who is the right person to solve this problem? Think of me, who said start nothing, go back now hold him ground. Government must collect him good data from all work line or line work, now help him all tasol. Price can go on top or go down. Government must get solution. And pay him school fee now, and must go pay him labor rate of the minimum wage up to 5 kina or 6 kina. Only for who said work land, who said work in Sabu City. Please you me stop nothing, you may go hold him ground. Now solve some problem. Thank you. This is just my thoughts. Thank you, Thomas. So you mangak, you go start a place too, people something, and by you still kissing this inflation, but still affecting you. My story lo last time my story when the man start lo I think lo napla district lo lay. Emsa kamin emsa moda blomem problem emsa kamin sa lo lay. But because fuel price been going up, I'm saying this fuel price going up because every dog profit to inflation am affecting me more. So now me have story blow this fuel going up. Talk seven longer the little line to be established or boost now little district me start from him still by still feeling the skin pen. One time. Also, Lemuel from Kim is saying, why not? You mean when I mean importing more product prices? Why not import? Product prices are lower when PNG made products. Please explain. Or imported he's asking why are imported products lower than the PNG ones. Example: Scotch finger biscuits. The Arnold's one is expensive than the imported one. Please explain. That's well from Kimbe. So somebody asking the solo line review stuff. Commissioner.
Well, thank you, long this legal question come long. Line blow you Kimbe. Be like you see one play example or some time you meet internal cost long one plus factory. You look at MI. Internal cost long factory. MI. For example, I must cut security.
Oh yes.
I must pay him good la warana power. Time all factory me go inside. Then all must sim some low additives, lo biscuit ya salt na. All you kai all must carry come long overseas. Then forex issue come inside. Then some low inflation issue long overseas market too. All carry me come inside. Now all the display issues all pumping me go now. All turning me go inside come up in price block. But import all in mass supply. All in bulk eating it. So volume of imports, the only factor that is affecting is FX na shipment no ligli. So because all bulk all spreading cost. So income here all plenty. But all local blow you mean. I'm ligli. Only no supply go along overseas market where all come in. You think So time all come in, all squish him up all when you blow you mean. So all I got recovery in the attempt to recover their own cost. They have to increase the price.
Na prosarin tu lemo li mas tingin tu ah.
So some like thinking Thomas, you like
Thomas. Na prosarin tu mi lagi ng kontak lo commissioner itu tu lem. Time power no kam lo regular supply ah. Plati blackout ko kam lo kam. All this factory tu no choice. I must go buy him diesel. Diesel can lo put him on the not buy him on the genset and put him again. This is not
this will draw money blow and put him go inside the price block biscuit. Now I must plus security guard him send up him must put him go inside the price block biscuit. You think all this block cost here. Look at them free market. And all must sim back all money all spend him. Time molek lo puti molek the coin check now and price lo biscuit am kwanta. So this la one pla biscuit am karim this la heavy blong all this la line ne pay blong all the cost ya and me puti coin check na you me kwanta. So me pla must pay molek da.
Absolutely. That's right. Thomas?
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Mr. Tanda. Okay, it's very true. Like if you look at it, the international market was no place to play. Like you have to be fully prepared to make your products competitive, and things like unreliable power supply or say security issues or infrastructure issues. Like these things are making the cost of local production very high. And if you look at the volume of product is not that much. Now, if you were to divide that very high cost by the little volume, you get very high per unit cost.
Yes.
Now, and then when you try to sell these products offshore, like what I said earlier, international market is not a place that say, you're gonna trial and error or can you go play. Like it's a very competitive market out there. It's aggressive competition. You must really good learner, you will say. So like while we are still struggling here with our infrastructure and the domestic cost, it's really high feeding into our the prices of our local products. The international market, like there's some players that they've been doing that thing for so many years, over and over. Come now, like they have figured out a way. So, and when they sell their products into our country, their products are much cheaper, much lower in prices, and their products are competing against our products. And like given this time that you may look in, the prices that are being received from overseas, like sometimes they go up, they come down. But if you look at it from a general perspective, international prices are competitive. Now that leads me on to another very important point here. So like when we say that a price is competitive, that doesn't really mean it is affordable. It can be affordable sometimes, it cannot be affordable sometimes.
Mhm.
Like a competitive price is determined by a supply and a demand, and it can be determined at a higher equilibrium or at a higher level. Okay, and like if you were to apply some form of price controls to bring prices down to affordable level,
Yep.
okay, we might be killing the businesses.
True.
Okay, it's all by less now, like they will pull out and we will create another problem, which is shortage. So the prices that we are receiving from overseas are assumed to be very competitive prices, even though they are high, because like our good friend he did mention something about a minimum wage.
Mm.
Now, if you look at affordability is a question of income level.
Yep.
It is a question of income level, and if you look at the competitive prices, it is an issue of markets, like the supply and the demand, like working together. Okay, so sometimes going back to what I was saying earlier, like if you import something or like if you see a price from overseas is high, it could reflect the income level of that country. Like if you were to buy a shirt from New Zealand, from Auckland, that shirt could cost you $150.
Mhm.
And if you were to bring it here and sell it to a country that they pay $350 an hour, just imagine. So like
True.
sometimes like when something is competitive, that doesn't always mean it is affordable. Competitiveness and affordability they may mean two different things. Thank you.
Just to add on to what Thomas was saying, Mr. Tanda, I visited one of the factories, on the local factories, and this is a brand product that has lived since even before independence. And I went to this factory, and it was really sad. And that business got sold, and we approved for sale as well. What are some of this? No, we go to Makam, in Kimbe, that beef. I'll stop now. I'll call him. Then you go to Makam. Then we had Sogeri up there. All this farm, they are not now there. Almost up here. So everything now that is one of these factories doing is they are bringing every from A to Z overseas. They're only doing a packing here. So time only packing now, when they are putting up into the market, the price is too huge. So they cannot recover their money. Now they're gradually winding down. One of them, the initial owner, they sold it. They came to us, we approved it. So the next guy, let's hope that we maintain that brand name the country loves.
Goodness.
You see, most of these existing factories, they will gradually wind down if we do not address those issues as a government, because their ability to recover some of this cost is a struggle as a result of all domestic issues that we all are aware of. You know, you give priority to one of those factory. What can we give this factory a good chance to grow? Minimum security, full water supply, good power, good pay, quality come out, and amamas long factory barrelation. Couldn't believe my eyes when I visited some of these factories. Sad to say, they are struggling. So hopefully they 5, 10 years down the line, 20 years down, they remain with us.
There's some current questions that are coming in, which on via WhatsApp. Before I read them out, for many of those who may be listening in and who don't really understand the fuel supply system that we have in PNG, coming in from overseas markets and how that's treated here, how that's distributed here and priced here. What is the current system that we have in place, considering the role of Puma Energy here? And what would be your suggestion if we could actually, if there is room for improvement, from what you've seen as far as fuel distribution and fuel pricing goes in the country?
Thank you. I think Thomas and I will set
Yeah,
up some of this
both
discussion.
yourselves and Thomas.
Going back to my days as one of the divisional heads dealing with fuel price back then, I dealt with Interoil. And I visited the factories. I've seen the factories. And the two tankers were not able to produce the required content to satisfy the market, domestic market.
Wow.
They were literally importing, and the tankers were empty back then. Their refinery was not capable of producing the required content for the market. So they were importing certain products to blend and mix. That's what I've seen some 15 years ago. Then the business got changed. I don't know what is happening now. So the monopoly is given to the existing company. Whether it's actually producing the required volume, we do not know. But the project agreement requires the first right of refusal is Puma. And that's the contract that says. So everyone else in this domestic economy, we must go to, including BP or Mobil and all these others. But if they are not able to meet the demand required, they have to go overseas just to meet their own domestic demand. So over the few years we've seen, they are now gradually bringing in overseas fuel into the market. So what, yes?
But Commissioner, I wanted to ask, prior to the arrangement with Puma to actually have Interoil back then, to have a monopoly in this case, was there a prior monopoly that was established from 1975 coming up?
No, there was never a monopoly.
So we had a free market.
We had a free market where Shell was there.
Yeah, I remember the Shell,
BP, and there were multiple suppliers in the market. But someone at that time saw fit. So everybody just picked up and left the market because they gave monopoly to one Interoil back then.
That's crazy for something like fuel.
A refinery that everyone's common knowledge is a refinery from somewhere they brought it in. Then after that, they decided because they were not able to produce the required amount of volume and products. Volume is different. Products are like, all these products that we are now getting from them. So I've seen these struggles back then. Then the business got changed to, and Thomas and these guys are coming into the scene and doing all these things. So I'll let him see how these things are done.
Thomas.
Yeah, I think what has happened is still ongoing. The project agreement is what we are still observing. But looking at the way things are happening in practice, I think some of the the wholesalers are importing directly, like I mean, whether they consult Puma Energy or not, because Puma Energy has these first rights of refusal. So if they only in the event that the Puma Energy is not able to sell to a domestic supplier, then that the supplier can import. But it doesn't seem to be that way now. But this isn't something for the ICCC to talk about or think about. Like what we are pursuing is that the supply should be open and free. So like we don't want to. I mean we don't want to put all our hope, like just in the hands of one supplier.
Obviously.
Yeah, that's right. So if you look at it, back then, what our commissioner was saying, most of the suppliers were importing, like BP and Shell and Interoil. And if you also look back, like most of these people, like Interoil, they do have upstream operations and downstream operations. So when Interoil took over the refinery, they were able to, like cross subsidize, like the parent company were earning a foreign currency, and that they were able to help their own refiner to pay for imports in the event that they were not able to produce, enough local production. But you look at now, we have a very tough situation where Puma Energy is a net importer. It imports and imports. It doesn't generate any foreign exchange, any foreign currency. So like we have all these issues going on, but there's some things that are outside of what the ICCC can do, and there's some things that we can do. We are only responsible for regulating prices, and where there are competition issues that we can step in, and anything to do with foreign exchange issues, anything to do with the project agreement, these are things that are outside the mandate of the ICCC. So like we cannot say anything unless and until we are asked to provide a view or like provide an assessment on that we can step in.
And what basically the government and everyone else has done is they have done it themselves without us being consulted. But you remember those crises, fuel crisis, and Puma was shutting down
Last year.
We went
in New Guinea. I was having a hard time over there. I mean, in New Guinea, I had to cancel flights for the day, for 1 day, a few days, I think it was.
So these guys, they never went to all these government agencies. They came to ICCC because they know that the pricing, they need to get it right.
That's right.
So when they agreed with us on the pricing, they diverted most of their shipments to other markets, and they brought in to PNG.
Wow.
Because we've given them that a price that you can recover. The pricing template, we worked it through all the numbers, and we finally agreed. But even if we contribute to that, we are not recognized. They think that the other agencies are responsible and they can come up with, and we were still struggling.
Goodness. On the next one, FM 100 Talkback. So let me take this question from one of our listeners. Didn't quite say the name, but saying, this is to Mr. Vue, saying, Mr. Vue, given the recent fluctuation in global fuel prices, how does the ICCC determine and regulate the pricing of petroleum products such as petrol, diesel, and kerosene in PNG?
Okay, it's a good one. Well, like what I mentioned earlier, our fuel prices is made up around, say, 60% is reflective of international prices. So like for this month, you might see prices going up, and the next month, who knows, it might go down again. So like it goes up and it goes down. It doesn't always go up, or it doesn't always go down. And mind you, the petroleum market is the most volatile market. It is the most sensitive markets. Like if there's a war, like if there's a conflict somewhere, or like if there's a sentiment, like a political sentiment somewhere, like a geopolitical sentiment somewhere, the fuel prices are very, very sensitive. So it's that's what drives up our domestic prices. Now, if you were to look at it, the domestic prices are made up of several components. The major one, like what I said earlier, is the import parity prices. It is locked in the project agreement. The ICCC doesn't have a say on it. Okay. Now, the next thing that the ICCC factor into the pump prices are the domestic sea freight rates for domestic tankering and the land transport, the haulage. Okay, and we also factor into the pump prices the applicable taxes, the excise duty and the GST. Now, the only thing that the ICCC has direct control over is the margins, the wholesale margin and the retail margin, and the drum filling margin. That's the only thing that we have a full control over. The rest of the components are only passed through, but we don't just allow them to pass through. We filter them, we check them, and we make sure they are reflective of what an efficient market would produce. Thank you for that.
Now, also, just in line with the question, I think you answered the second question that's here. As far as review goes, I also wanted to, from the same person here, saying, what mechanisms does ICCC have in place to prevent price manipulation or unfair pricing practices by fuel suppliers?
That's a good one. Now, from our price regulation perspective, we don't look so much into the behavioral elements of prices, like price gouging or like misleading and deceptive pricing or unconscionable pricing. What we look into from the perspective of the Prices Regulation Act, we look at the structural market constraints. Like if a market is less competitive, then okay, we step into regulated prices. Now, from our consumer protection and competition perspective, yes, we do look into those behavioral elements, okay, and we do address those issues under our consumer protection laws and our competition law. But like what I was trying to stress is that our Price Regulation Act, the Prices Regulation Act, Chapter 320, it doesn't have anything to do with how to address behavioral, say, elements like price gouging, misleading and deceptive pricing, or unconscionable prices like what I did mention earlier. Thank you.
In addition to what Thomas is saying, on the 8th of every month when the price is announced, now all the fuel prices, we expect them to change and reflect the price that we are giving. So what we do is we deploy our officers from Consumer Protection Division. That division, we have a regional office in all the regional centers. So they go to they work with the suppliers, and it's the supplier who is supplying the fuel. They have this calibration. They go in, they change the pump price, and they work with our team. So once they change the pump price, our team go in and confirm that it's reflecting the price that we are announcing on the 8th of every month. But there are certain provinces away from where our local regional office are. We have MOUs with the provinces. So the business development offices in the provinces, we circulate that same notice that you have now. We send it out to all the NBCs, radio stations, and all our videos. So on the 8th, the pump prices, and by this kind price and by stuff. You look at price belong only go more, you report to us. So then once when they report, we give them warning letters. First, second, third. The repeating offender, mibla sakari mikola court. Then mibla charge him all.
I'm sorry.
Okay, then if they fail to do this, mibla report him mikola supplier belong all long. Terminate their contract or deal with the supplier. An existing arrangement like that.
Now, as of between from January go to February, as far as price increase go, based on the indicative retail prices you look at here, petrol will go up by 10.74 toya per liter. Diesel will be up by 20.03 toya per liter, and kerosene 18.09 toya per liter. With this, considering for those who may not be aware of exactly what that translates to at the fuel pump, are these big increases, or relatively. I mean, relatively to the increases that are happening. And people are like, if me karam mobla 50 kina go fuel pump na mila bam petrol or diesel, how much by me kalab gwanta? I think that's for the consumers at the end of the day.
And now you me all them one kind.
Yep.
Okay. Time all mangi blo mi long all back end analyst. Mi subscribe go long international what's the name of this place? Platts is a big organization where all crude oil trading names are come up logan. The crude oil trading here. So we subscribe to this, so we extract this on a daily basis or crude oil price. Now bolksim, tomorrow bolksim. So come after before the heat, and now in plus kushimi go inside now work total crude oil volume we expect. So time me problem la start mobile blongen basale me come Puma all the so people are looking for some number of only different. Where did you get this? Because we all subscribe to the same thing. So then people are matching up something long happy and we deciding what we get here. We don't decide. All we're doing is get the numbers that kind of some stock market there.
Yes.
These numbers are flying. So we extract what belongs to us every time. The crude oil price block.
That's right.
Global and trade come stuff, yeah. So it's about $300 we pay for it to subscribe. So Puma is doing the same thing, all of us doing the same thing. So we can't say that it will go down tomorrow. We can't say that it will go up tomorrow. So as soon as numbers come up on the 7th, we decide now, we know exactly whether the fuel is pricing, and then we announce it.
Thank you. Ensuring that the fuel that's coming in, there's a standard price that's there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if we are getting 180 the crude of the day, Puma is the same thing. We all subscribe to the same Bloomberg.
Same source.
Same source.
Yes.
On the next one, FM 100 Talkback Show, there's some questions coming in regarding some of the issues, some of the global events that are taking place as well, and how that affects fuel pricing as well. So stay tuned for that. Coming up next on the next one, FM 100 Talkback Show, my special guest in the studio, Executive Manager, Price Regulation Division, Thomas Wui, along with Commissioner for the Independent Consumer and Competition Commission, ICCC, basically, Mr. Palus Ains in the studio with me. Keep those questions coming in on 771463440. We'll take a break and be back to answer your questions coming in via WhatsApp.
Nesfund FM 100 Talkback. Nest Fund FM 100 Talkback Show. Your input matters. Call now on 323-3777 or 323-3999.
Welcome back to the Nest Fund FM 100 Talkback Show. Before we continue our discussion this morning with Commissioner Palus Ains from ICCC, along with Thomas Fue, the Executive Manager, Price Regulation and Division, our good friends at Bank South Pacific, BSP, that's right, good friends of Talkback. Currently running awareness on their One Talk Wallet programs or roadshows to give us an update on what's transpiring today. Let's join FM 100's Ezekiel, who's live on location in Regani, if I believe. Ezekiel, please tell us about the One Talk Wallet Roadshow.
Thank you very much, Kevin. No, it's actually Nigel here. So we're here down at the Kennedy Estate at the I almost said Tito, the 2020 convenience shop, conveniently located in the center of Kennedy Estate. So what are we doing here? We're here for the One Talk Wallet Roadshow. It's a series of roadshows that will be happening all across the country, not only here in the nation's capital, but also in certain parts of or certain regional areas around the country as well. So we're starting off here in Kennedy Estate. Tomorrow, the next one is going to be held in Bay. Following that, in Mount Hagen, and then we head over to Buka with BSP team, who will be not only talking about One Talk Wallet, but also the services that come with One Talk Wallet itself. We're here. We set up a big tent here with the BSP guys. We're all chilling here. There's a lot of people coming down trying to find out all about the One Talk Wallet. One Talk Wallet was launched, I believe, last week on Friday. And we're getting reception. A lot of people coming in to find out, very curious about this service. And coming up in the next topic, I'll tell you more about the promotions that we're going to talk about with the One Talk Wallet Roadshow.
Nigel, thank you very much for the update as well. Have a top safe day yourself and the BSP team promoting the One Talk Wallet Roadshow. Take care, brother. Thank you so much for your time.
No worries. Thank you very much, Kalian.
Come back to our program with ICCC Commissioner Palus Ains, of course, Executive Manager, Price Regulation Division, Mr. Thomas Fue. We've got a question from a good friend, Andrew Ranawari. Andrew saying, with President Donald Trump reopening domestic petroleum production and seeking to end the Russia-Ukraine war, how soon can we expect to see the residual effects on fuel arrangements between Singapore and PNG? Additionally, when might we see a drop in fuel prices and a curb in inflation affecting fast-moving consumer goods? From Andrew Ranawari. Good point. Thomas?
Well, that's a good one. We cannot at this stage. We cannot really tell how soon or when we should expect to see some price drop, because if you look at it, the world market is still highly volatile. There's this ongoing, like push and pull between the east and the west. So, but generally, we would expect the prices to go down based on the law of economics. When there's oversupply, then you would expect the prices to go down. But how soon? That would be a question that we are all looking forward to. So at this stage, the ICCC cannot say how soon or when, but likely we are to expect some price drops in the coming months.
And what we do is we also do inform consumers that this drop is as a result of those factors. That's right. So at this stage, we are unable to predict anything.
There you heard it, Andrew. And also from one of our listeners as well, from Solomon Jera, listening from Windy Tarama, my brother, don't let the wind blow away, saying, good morning, FM 100 and ICCC team. Just 1.5 questions. I don't know if you can do 1.5 questions. That's interesting. We're about to find out. Okay. Just 1.5 questions. How much of the impact does the devaluing of the kina have on the rise of cost of living in the country, especially on fuel products and imported food? If this has a big impact, How can we address this in the country? What is a realistic solution? From Solomon, from Tarama.
Very, Solomon. That's a very good question, and I guess this question is an whole of government answer that will assist you to understand. And ICCC is one of those agencies partly trying to answer this question may not satisfy the question that you're asking. Mr. Tanda, if we were to break down and we can discuss on this one, it'll be good. So if you are able to give us more reading on this question, so we can.
Great.
Please read that question.
I'll read it again.
Yeah.
Just 1.5 questions. I'm sorry. How much of the impact does the devaluing of the kina have on the rise of the cost of living in the country, especially on fuel products and imported food? That's the first part. Secondly, if this has a big impact, how can we address this as a country? What is a realistic solution? And that's on the devaluing of the kina. Coming back to that. So that's Solomon Jeram from Tarama. Solomon, thank you for the question.
All right. Thank you, Solomon. Thank you. The devaluation of the kina has largely affected and our imports mainly. And the whole intention of the government is to encourage export, so we earn enough forex to support our economy. And that intention is the intention of the government. And what we are experiencing throughout that government policy decision is now what we are currently experiencing at the moment. So what we are seeing now, most of the imports that are coming into this country is as a result of the level of the kina, the strength of the kina against those major trading currencies, especially the USD. So, for example, we used to have a 20-foot container from Thailand direct to Port Moresby, which say 200 bags of rice, 10 years ago cost the economy 60,000 kina. 60,000 kina to bring that 20-foot container. Then it was selling at the market around 30 kina for a 10 kg rice. That same container has not changed. It's still carrying the 200 bale. Today it's costing, when you convert that 60,000, you are not getting that equivalent dollar. So you have to double it up. That's economic 101. We all understand this. So the devaluation has actually impacted the entire network of imports, not only rice, but all other imports that we've relied on. So what we are doing at ICCC is for those products, items that we relied on this pandemic act here to monitor price gouging. This is an ongoing exercise. We are carrying it out. Thomas and the team are receiving applications as far as our outer provinces and districts, because we have already fined, and 200 to 300 we are in court with them. So what they're doing is they send applications to them that prices are changing and we need to factor this. So the level of impact it has had on imports is what we are feeling now. So over time, the solution to that problem that we are experiencing is also our government policy that will assist the economy. It's ICCC's position that we are not able to give you, Solomon, today. So yes, the government is seeing it and is aware of it. And some of these experiences, the government in its recent budget decision for 2025 is giving some relief to the consumers in various other forms, but one of them is exemption of the tax on some selected food items. We initiate some discussions with IRC and we're working towards it on the implementation part of it. But the actual decision on devaluation of the kina is a government policy decision.
It is a government policy decision. It's a major one, in fact. And when you're talking about, putting a ban on, cutting off excise on certain imports coming in. One thing's for sure, you have short-term solutions and long-term solutions. I do understand that the ban on the excise itself could be a short-term solution. Devaluation of the kina is such a massive issue that needs to be looked at. How are we addressing that? So, like you said, it's something that's on the government policy perspective. We can only stick to our discussion on what we can do, and what transpires with ICCC and it's the powers that be with ICCC.
Yes, yes.
Now, also from one of our listeners, sending in through a question saying, a suggestion for the project agreement be a suggestion is for the program project agreement to be revoked by the government and open the market for competition, bring in the investments. That's from Reiko as well. Now, Reiko continuing and saying, I'm sure other fuel importers can bring the fuelers at a low cost and the price at low cost and price than Puma's prices. Since the price has increased this month, you would expect to get less fuel. 50 kina will probably get 20 liters in January. You'll probably have got 24 liters. That's what he's saying. Is it? I mean, I think we're just being hypothetical here. But in the event that if we didn't have the monopoly in place, do you think we could have? I mean, this is hypothetical, mind you. Do you think the price would be low? I mean, would we have saved ourselves the trouble of having high fuel prices in the country?
You know, what we consumers need to understand, and all of us need to understand, is what Thomas was saying: the crude oil prices. We are one of those price takers.
That's right.
Even we try to have a refinery here and thinking that it'll be cheap. Crude oil prices are globally traded commodity. They can live they can ship it elsewhere, and they can get a better price out there.
True.
So, like we always do, like I said earlier on, we subscribe to that global crude oil trade market. It's
That's
like
right.
stock exchange of its own, on fuel only. A market blanket. So everybody going in there and they pull out. Then they supply the markets. So we are one of those price takers in this. So we can't say that fuel price will come down. The secret about Indonesia, they do it is, they have this subsidy. The government has a subsidy scheme where heavily monitors pool of funds there. Time fuel price belong, crude oil price become a regulator like announcing also member fuel price went up and pumping in all this money going inside. So fuel price is maintained on the floor. It's very cheap in this Indonesia because you can't say that fuel price we only rely on this crude oil na yumi wet as all. 8 time ICCC announcing price you went up. You cannot cross it by Western time law cross because there's nothing we have here. The only incentive for us to make sure that our economy is running 24/7 with fuel supply consistently, governments are putting money aside na subsidize it.
Now you're making me think of what was initially supposed to be a sovereign wealth fund that would have assisted us with that. We won't get into that. We shall not get into that. On the next one, if you want to talk back show, one more. Solomon saying thanks very much for answering that question. I think we featured him earlier. Before we end our program, Mr. Ain and Mr. Boy, just on the questions that have been raised, but again on a subject of discussion regarding the indicative retail fuel prices for February, expected to go up on the average itself. Just on this, for consumers to be aware, what should we be aware of, and what can we expect?
Thank you. I think the consumers must always, there's a date that is always the fuel price change notice comes out. And that is 8th of every month. So time me black sim that is la crude oil price from day to day collecting me come on the 7th. And now me putting me go inside one plan now. Me dividing more working more mathematics now. Me confirming one time Puma, me confirming one time mobile na toggle some okay. Me sim this price one. So now we confirm these numbers on the 8th. Puma himself the price back mobile basawa on our supplies. So consumers, for them to be aware of the fuel pump price to be out on the 8th, So, for example, Miplas Awokem along the entire province, excluding Bougainville. So, all the province, price belong M350, long again, talk M350, that's all. Suppose one blow you look at M 360, move to the next pump. There is a next pump that is available for you. You don't try to argue with this person, because the more you argue with this, you will not get it anywhere. If you come to ICCC, it will cost you to come, bus pay, calling, all these things. So might as well go to the next available pump. Then tomorrow, the next announcement comes, this guy will drop his price. These are psychological things that you need to think about it. Papua New Guinea is too big for, I have 80 men we can't deploy everybody simultaneously.
Yep.
So the important thing that we want to leave is look out for all forms of media outlets, 8th of every month. That's the time if you're a regular user of any petroleum products, 8th of the month, you know the price will change. Watch out. When you go to the next browser, if you see that it's not the price that you saw in the paper, go to the next.
Mr. Lane, I also wanted to add, for those who might miss out on the paper not come lately, do you have a website or a Facebook page where people can go and access the notice?
Yes. ICCC website stop,
Facebook page,
Facebook page, all the contact, and stop on them all the media outlets, all the district, all the business development officers, the videos, everybody. We make sure that we cover the entire community. But it's their business. If you ignore it, you yet know.
You know. Thank you, Thomas. And of course, Mr. Your parting comments.
Thank you so much. Just to emphasize again, stress again on what the commissioner said. Information awareness is also one of our mandated functions to educate, to go out and educate consumers. So when we disseminate the fuel prices out, we try as much as possible to disseminate it widely, because we don't want people to come back and say that, look, I did not receive it, so I wasn't able to comply. Like, we don't want to listen to that. So you can go on Facebook, search our official Facebook page, as well as you can go on to Twitter or X, now it's called X, or you can go on to LinkedIn and our official website as well. Or you can just give us a call, or you can just shoot us an email, info@iccc.gov.pg. You can just shoot us an email, and we can send you the updated price list. And feel free to come forward and lay your complaints if you're not happy with, if you suspect that someone is selling fuel prices, say fuel above the prices that we set. You can always reach out to us. Thank you.
With that being said, I'd like to extend my sincerest thanks to, I almost said Electoral Commissioner, forgive me, Mr. Ains. Again, the Independent Consumer and Competition Commission, ICCC Commissioner, Mr. Palus Ains, again, for your time as always. And again, a lively discussion as always. Someone like yourself, very passionate about the work that you do. And I think it reflects on the performance of what ICCC has been doing. And for Papua New Guineans out there, I think for them it's a sense of comfort knowing that we've got someone like you and Mr. Avue and the rest of the team at ICCC are always ensuring that Papua New Guineans don't get the short end of the stick when it comes to their 1 kina or 2 kina that they go and put at the market table, as always. And again, I thank you for your service to the country as always, as we approach 50 years, and the role that ICCC has been playing as to Papua New Guinea as an independent state, and again, making sure that you are monitoring and ensuring that there is a fair market price for our products.
Yes.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Thanda. Thank you, viewers. Thank you, listeners. And thank you, Selina, for having us. And from 100, thank you once again.
And of course, thank you very much, Mr. Thomas Way, as well, for your time. On the next one, FM 100 Talkback Show, that's been Talkback for today. Have a top safe day. I'm Callaghan Thanda. Again, tune in tomorrow, as always, for another edition of the FM 100 Talkback Show. As always, we welcome your company as well via live streaming, and also via WhatsApp, our WhatsApp page, really on today as well. Many thanks. I saw a last-minute question coming in. Unfortunately, we run out of time, and we've got two very busy gentlemen who are doing their duty for this country, and I can't keep them any longer. So with that being said, I'm Callaghan Thanda. You got the Major News Bulletin up next. Have a top safe day. On behalf of the Talkback team, God bless.